the drug problem in eastern Kentucky, which is still raging, by the way.
We do have a bad drug problem in eastern Kentucky. Of course, it's also out through Kentucky. What makes it different for us, William, is you've got a county that's got 30,000 in it, and when you have a drug bust like Unite or you have an accident drug-related, it is usually the top story when it happens in Louisville or Lexington, these big markets, which they have a lot of drug abuse too. It's not a top story. So it's not just eastern Kentucky, but it's everywhere with the meth labs and things. So, and of course, that hurts your employees. That hurts people that want to come in and invest money in your area. Wondering if they can get people to work, and that's a big issue.
Obviously we're in an economic crisis, and do you think we're going to see results in this short session of the Kentucky General Assembly?
Well, it's kind of funny that Governor Beshear and these new governors come in, and all of a sudden, instead of the national leaders being the bad guys, it's going to be the governors going to be the bad guys. Through something that's not really their fault. I know Governor Beshear is, talking about furloughing state workers and maybe doing some other things, and to come up with $450 million. Now, there's a lot of people out there, William, that you still can't convince that maybe we are in a crisis, and that's because there's never been any pain or anything. I mean, everything just went on like it always has. And then there's folks out there, and I'm kind of like that, and maybe you are too, that we think that there's a lot of waste in government, things we consider waste, but then it's hard to chisel it, and one person's waste is another person's employment or program. So that's the way government is, and I hate to the situation is, the purpose of government is not to create jobs for people. The purpose of government is to serve people, but I think 80% of any budget in state or school system is personnel, because it takes personnel to deliver those things.
President-elect Obama had campaigned on a $1 trillion revitalization program. Would probably rival, as far as in scale, money. Obviously, it's going to be a whole lot more money than President Roosevelt spent right after the Depression. But we're looking at a potential public works program coming from the new administration. Do you agree with the absolute massive amounts of money that will be available?
My dad worked with WPA when Roosevelt came into office, and your relatives and a lot of the relatives listening, you can go throughout, I know down at Pineville, for example, their gymnasium and part of their football stadium, and you go up to Everett's and the old Cumberland School, that concrete bleachers and a lot of the buildings was built for the Roosevelt. But here's the situation we're in right now, William. During the last several years, we spent a lot of money in Iraq. Whether you like the war or don't like it, that's not the issue. We've spent a lot of money, and we have not paid for that war. We have borrowed money from India and China, and not only able to pay our interest payments on that. When we went to World War II, Roosevelt and the Congress imposed the war tax. They paid for that war. And in the Vietnam War, Lyndon Johnson, they had a war tax on that to pay for it. We've not paid for anything.
Log on to The Rural Democrat. That's theruraldemocrat.typepad.com.
Now, let's take the bailout money. That's another issue. We're going to be spending probably $800 billion on bailout money, which is supposed to be paid back. But, we've got some of our congressional leaders that was okay to do that. And by the way, they can't even track most of that money. That they don't know what happened to it. And so if we come up with another $800 billion, that will probably stimulate the economy. But, the money's not backed by anything. So that worries me a little bit. But in our area now, William, it might help, because I can think of $8 or $10 million worth of school projects, and the president wants to, build and remodel schools. We could do that. Of course, that creates jobs, that creates taxes back into the government. And, of course, the Great Depression was not settled by the WPA, although it helped. It was settled by World War II. That's what got us out of the Great Depression. But see, in our war in Iraq, we're not getting, I mean, we're just spending money there and we're not getting anything back. Even oil, Iraq was the fourth biggest oil producer in the world. We're not even getting to use any of their oil. We're not even getting to use any of the proceeds from the oil to pay for the money we spent.
Well, society has shifted underneath the I guess you could say, the cliche of spoils of war. Those type of things are not, I guess you could say, acceptable in modern times. But we look at the potential revitalization program from President-elect Obama. Me personally, the way I look at it is, how much am I paying each of my children and my spouse? How much are we paying to give somebody a job?
As of right now, I saw the numbers the other day. Our national debt, every man, woman, and child, regardless of the age, owes about $32,000. That is your share and my share and our listeners' share of what we owe right now. That means that's how much money we owe compared to how much money we have.
Well, that shouldn't take long to pay off, should it? The federal monies for Future Gen is obviously evaporated, and I think largely due to the war. Programs had to be cut to pay for that war. Like you said, we are getting nothing back in return. But Texas and Illinois, if they're going to follow through with this, are going to build Future Gen plants for what they say around $600 million. And they're going to revamp the Future Gen projects themselves. Now, we don't have a Houston or a Dallas, Texas, or a Chicago, or a huge, massive tax base to pay for $1 billion in projects. I know we can't afford to do that, but do you think that Obama will, stand by his campaign pledge to support clean coal?
Well, clean coal's got a long history. In 1976, when we had one of the Arab oil embargoes, I think President Jimmy Carter had got Congress to authorize, I think it was 20 or 25 of those coal to liquid plants. They were very expensive. And that scared the Arabs so bad they reduced the oil, and of course we dropped the projects. Now here's the situation. The state of Kentucky, through House Bill 1 and House Bill 2, we have some incentive money if anybody wants to come in and do that. But if you are talking about a small plant that could take coal and make a liquid fuel out of it, you're going to have an investor that's going to be able to sink $3 to $4 billion. That's billion with a B. The state's not going to be able to come up with that money.